All right. Well, that's not the only legal trouble that we can talk about today, because we can't talk about Long Dew's new trailer for Hopetown without also talking about what's going on behind the scenes. Any chance you took a look at the new Kickstarter trailer for?
So, someone sent me the trailer for Long
Dew's Hopetown.
Hopetown. And I clicked on it with the sound off and scrolled through the whole thing and didn't see a single moment of gameplay and went, why would I give a about this?
Okay. Did you turn the sound on after?
No. There was no, it's a Kickstarter pitch for a game with no gameplay. Why would I pay a second of time to it even at all?
Because there's some bad feelings to be had a little bit if you turn the sound on.
Okay. I'm going to turn it on now. Okay, what about it?
It's just that Lenval Brown is over there working on the project.
Oh, he's the disco narrator. Man, he looks exactly what I thought he was going to look like.
Yeah.
That is exactly who I thought the disco narrator would look like.
So it's just one of those bits where I'm like, damn, I really like the disco narrator. Lenval Brown did a really awesome job. And, you know, if there's weirdness about this project that we need to keep an eye on, that's one of those things where I'm like, I really like him and the job he did. And yeah, that's it. So,
okay, well, if it's going to be a Kickstarter, show me a prototype.
Yeah, no, none of those are.
Isn't that like a mandatory requirement of Kickstarter now?
It's not. It's not. But look, I'm just saying.
It's my mandatory requirement.
I'm saying because you said I started it muted, I was like, oh, that's funny. That means you didn't hear the narrator. Which when I heard it, I was like, fuck, he's so good. Damn. You know, that's it. That's all I'm trying to say. So it's not much to that. But anyway, so yeah, there's a whole lot of up in the air with a lot of the Disco Elysium successors, and quite frankly, we've only seen gameplay off of Night Shift XXX, I believe, right?
Yeah, that's the only one.
The rest have just been ranging from ideas to concepts to manifestos, burning on fire, hammer and sickle. But
no Kickstarters will ever get a single second look from Pat until Silk Song releases.
Interesting. That is a line in the sand to draw. And
that is this line in the sand I am drawing now.
That is not unreasonable. However, I would stipulate it to video games.
Yeah.
Because there are unrelated Kickstarters for other unrelated things. Yeah. But sure, you know, that's fair. That's fair. I wish we threw that in place back in the Ghost Song era. You know?
Boy, wouldn't that have been nice?
Anyway,
that would have been nice.
But yes, so no, it's just that you know, if we always, for your reference point, always go back to the Disco Elysium successor meme. Where everything exploded from Zaum into the 5 various factions: the Kender Revivalists, the Zaum Extants, the Disco Apostles, the Kurvitz Loyalists, and the New Elysians.
I mean, I got to be blunt. If we're going to continue on like the schism of Marxism fucking political analogy here, none of these games are going to come out and people are just going to go, man, Disco was so great, wasn't it?
It's a special thing. It went out the way it lived. It went out Disco. Blaze of glory. I don't think we'll ever get anything like it, but I think we're going to see stuff that attempts, and I think something will release. But I think it's not going to be 5 things. And I think what we do get won't hold that full torch.
I think one of these 5 will release. And it'll be as you described. It'll be like, wow, that was pretty good.
What's interesting...
Wasn't as fucking good as just always.
Well, what's interesting is that the speed of prototyping is perhaps up to like, well, did the programmers go over to dark math? Well, then they have their night shift build up and running faster than the writers at Summer Eternal or the money lenders at Zaum, you know. But in any case, though, that to say that, like, yeah, there's the Kickstarter project, and I remember that because I do remember when I was also hearing similar a little bit before this about how Argo Tulik was one of the writers on the original Disco Elysium and was being sued because there were legal threats coming from Zaum and Longdu about stopping him from working at all on anything due to non-compete, overreaching contracts and shit like that. There's a whole complex thing to it. I know that at some point it seemed like shit was getting pretty dire, but the explosion into all these different companies and projects has led to a very hard to follow series of factions. My understanding is that Zaum is basically anyone that was creative that was instrumental on what disco became is no longer there. It's just the license holder of the disco franchise, which will then be, given out to whatever Amazon shows or whatever they want to do with that IP because they have it. That's where it goes. And then one of the I guess what disco would describe as the money lenders, one of the producer financial folks that came in that weren't involved creatively, I believe is from Longdu, that is then trying to shut down legally the writers and some of the folks that are working over at Dark Math and let me get the other and Summer Eternal.
Well, hey, do you know how I feel right now?
Mm-hmm.
I feel like that guy sitting underneath that person's wall of text going, man, I'm not going to read all that. So good for you.
Or I'm sorry that happened. I totally
like that's where I'm at with the division of the Zaum legal shenanigans, where I'm just like, I'm fucking
and
great
I am
or not.
But here also, I am hyper glossing and summarizing from the farthest zoom out ever on this. I am not going nitty gritty on it because I've seen the people going into the nitty gritty and I'm like, oh my God, I can't follow.
So fucking ridiculous. It's so ridiculous.
But I'm just bringing this up because the trailer dropped before we started recording today, and all I know is there's the 5, there's Zaum. No one that's left there is anyone that was creative on Disco. There's XXX Night Shift from Dark Math. Part of these Zaum team involved there, not 100% sure on the creative involvement side or so. Longdu, as I just explained, currently suing some former Disco staff. Fucking sucks. Then Summer Eternal are the ones who wrote that insane, burning, powerful manifesto that is words on a screen. And I think that as long as what they put out is words on a screen, then they are ready.
My fucking the feeling in my fucking chest every time this comes up is like, wow, that's crazy.
Yeah. look, I mean, listen, as someone who has over these decade plus years doing the shit we do, I've talked about it with every time we watch an award show. I've talked about it with reacting to trailers and with anything. I don't want to be cynical, irony-pilled. I don't want to be just fucking dead inside.
No, it sucks out here.
It's not great, and I refuse to live my life that way. So until proven otherwise, hey man, I hope Devil May Cry is cool. But
also the problem with cynical irony pilled, right, is that the way I became cynical irony pilled is that I used to be actively hopeful all the time, which leads to getting burned constantly.
That's bad. No, don't do that. And I think they're is there a difference between being optimistic and huffing copium? Who knows?
Events will later bear out whether or not you were optimistic or coping.
I suppose so. And you know what? Someone who's irony poisoned can say that you're huffing copium, right?
Yeah.
But
and irony pilled shithead over here, I can huff copium too. Sometimes I want the cope.
Yeah, for sure. Virtua Fighter 6. Game of the year all year, every year.
Shut up. That's not cope. That's reality. I don't need to huff cope on VF6.
But here's what I do know, right? I just have opinions on things that happen. But if I have to look at everything and have that fucking just cynical irony poisoned energy about it and everything in this industry, I don't want to do this job anymore. I literally don't want to record
because the excitement is the point.
Yeah, I don't want to sit here and talk about video games. I will leave. So
you will look at video games, you'll go goodbye,
at the very least in front of a microphone, you know. So like, I keep my attitude that allows me to keep doing this. It's literally on or off for me in that regard.
Totally. I think this situation's somewhat different though, because this situation is 5 separate teams going, I'm gonna do it, and you go, okay, so do it then, and they go, I'm gonna.
No. I'm starting zoomed out on my own brain here to say that, like, I know that I could be super wrong on what I'm calling out, and do what exactly? Look to the skies, look for my fucking drone shows. But no, the point is that in looking at that Disco Elysium, which is to me one of the most important games I've ever played, like,
agreed.
The energy by all of this mess, the only thing that I look at in all of this that I go, I'm interested there, that I raise an eyebrow, is the way the Summer Eternal Manifesto reads. That reads like real passion. But as we all know, passion on its own doesn't lead to anything. And even Kurvitz and Zaum, the original Fortress Occident people, couldn't put anything out because they didn't have anyone practical to be like, fucking ship it, assholes.
Takes a bunch of people to put a game together,
right?
If you need information on how troublesome game development can be, need I remind you of Fortress Occident, the entire storyline within Disco Elysium about how they almost bankrupted their entire lives trying to put out a game that was too big to make.
Having an Estonian cultural revolution and then realizing you can't put bread on your table and getting fucking depressed about it while writing shit like Sacred and Terrible Air and designing this whole tabletop campaign that's incredible, but now what? What do we do with it? And at one point your grandkid or one of your goes like, have you looked at video games? Like, it's this whole insane. Go ahead.
I think there's like kind of a perfect encapsulation of how silly and perfect the whole situation is, genuinely, because in the decrying of like Disco's like an overtly capitalist and communist and like left-leaning like piece of work, right? Mm-hmm. And it has incredible critiques of like pretty much everything, right? And these are guys that made huge mistakes with their business prior and didn't ship a game, and then they barely shipped Disco, and then it took the success of Disco to put out a final version of Disco, and then everybody splits up to do their own thing. And there's like a real Marxist energy to like a lot of Disco there. And what is by far the funniest thing is light bending rich guy is playing the direct one-to-one role of Engels, being, hey, you guys are doing that crazy game about the politics. Haha, that's cool, man. Here's all the money you need to make it, because I think that'd be cool, just like it was for fucking Marx. And now that they don't have that guy to just bankroll their shit, what do we get is manifesto after manifesto after pitch after pitch after pitch. And like, we're the true successors of the fucking legacy. And it's like, well, fucking do it.
There is there's a Sacred and Terrible Air has an even more on point Engels character reference, and I would also argue through him they bring out the thesis statement of the entire like disco universe, really. It's quite interesting, and if you ever get a chance at Sacred and Terrible Air, it's fucking cool. Though, you know, it might come across as impenetrable at times. But all this to say, I feel as if this is a case with Disco Elysium where you get to just say, don't be sad because it's gone, be happy that it happened, right?
Yeah.
It was, in and of itself, too real to exist into the future. It had to implode. It couldn't ever continue as it was. And when you get that real, and you get, and especially in the conditions it was made in, there's no way that anyone who has never seen success like that gets a whiff of that and then doesn't just let it go to their brains. It's always going to get corrupted and destroyed. But while the Summer Eternal words are the only things here that like inspire some real passion, you can tell that they were typed with single-digit fingers. You can tell that they were all capsed, right? They were forcefully writing and bleeding as I write. None of that means it's going to exist. But the energy and passion is there, and it seems to be coming from the place that when disco was at its most angry, and one could argue self-righteous, it sounded like the Summer Eternal manifesto.
Yeah, absolutely.
And to that end, if that manifests into anything, I will be most interested in seeing what and how.
Do you know what it's going to manifest into?
A visual novel with no graphics whatsoever.
It's going to manifest into a series of dev updates, each containing a manifesto that will eventually not come out. And then someone on the team will then give an interview about, man, it was going to be something really special. And you can really feel how special it was going to be if you go and read our manifestos.
And maybe we'll find out how someone else on the team felt about race.
Yeah.
And then things would start to get muddled and, oh no. Nah, man. This fucking mess is just, it had to go down this way, right? It just had to happen. Disco was it's forever its own thing. And nothing in time, hopefully, can take that away as long as our digital ownership doesn't get revoked and all traces don't get deleted.
Even if it does, I'm sure that that'll be fine.
But for that time and place, for this game, for that moment, it's eternal. It will always be what it was, and I don't know that it can ever be anything but. Furthermore, even in the best, not best case scenario, but even in the case scenario, I suppose, where, you know, you have a RPG come out with some stats and some cool narration and stories and everything kind of lines up and does well. I mean, you know, it's not just the clicking on people's conversations with good voice acting and, you know, rolling a die to find out if you read check or not that makes a disco, you know? It's not just the idea of stats that talk to you, and it certainly isn't just the gags and the picking up of items and internalizing thought cabinets. You know, it's a tone, it's a whole
It's a Gesamtkunstwerk. It's a total work of art where every single piece of the puzzle forms a greater whole.
Firing on all cylinders at all times, 100%. That's a new word for me, but that sounds pretty apt. That sounds like what I want to get at. I will continue to have this energy as we find out more about the Disco Elysium succession. And optimism, I suppose. Let's see what happens.
I don't even think it's necessarily a case for optimism or cynicism. It's just they just keep saying that it's going to be great and it's going to happen, but no one's shown like anything other than the what was it called? The
Triple X Night Shift, yeah.
Yeah, that one showed off something. So like, I mean, I'm interested in that on the pure basis that it currently exists in some form.
Yeah.
I'm like, it's probably going to be pretty cool, but like, you know.
People, all we know is people who made a really good thing are interested in making other things and they also are aware of making those other things can lead to them making some money and also getting their stories out there, and hopefully reality can come together and we can find out what some of those things are.
I think they should stop fighting and kiss.
Everyone comes back together. Zaum 2, Disco Elysium 2. I think I would fucking vomit in my mouth and just die. If it was like, now it's actually, no, everything, and it's just Disco Elysium 2. It's literally called that. And now it's in 3D.
Oh, that's coming, dude.
And now it's got now it's a cover shooter.
So which do you think is funnier?
And every time Harry is waiting for someone to finich talking, he does a little like lean to the side and flexes his hands and has a little idle waiting for conversation moment.
Which do you think is funnier? And I know it's Zaum 2 and Disco Elysium 2. I think that's way funnier, but I still want to put it out there. That or Hasbro, after they fired everyone that worked with Larian, going, guys, we're gonna make Baldur's Gate 4 and it's gonna be just as good, and we're gonna hire a brand new team to do it, and you'll see. Do you remember that? Do you remember that fucking thing they put out? How fucking funny that was?
No, but I certainly do know that energy, because I will always forever ever reference Bobby Kotick talking about how Guitar Hero, the original franchise, is being encroached upon by these
Rock Band.
These imposters making a game called Rock Band, but they can't hold a candle to the original franchise. You do it, moneylender.
That's
do
so
it.
Funny.
Bend that
That's
light.
So fucking funny.
Bend that light, Bobby. Bend it.